Hey everyone, and welcome back. So today marks the 42nd anniversary of one of my favorite films, Escape from New York. As you can see, I'm sort of overdoing it today with the one of my shirts as well as the hat. But as you guys know, I have a lot of Escape from New York shirts. So the big question was just trying to decide which one to wear for this video. And of course, every chance I get to talk about Escape from New York, I definitely want to take advantage of it because it has over the years become one of my favorite films. In fact, even though my top 10 list changes a little bit from time to time, I would say especially now, Escape from New York is sort of holding in the number 5 spot. And it has for a very long time. And the interesting thing about Escape from New York is that it's not a film that I immediately connected with the first time I saw it, unlike a lot of my other favorite films. You know, I can almost go down my list of like all-time favorite films and I can kind of remember like, oh, the first time I saw it, it had this huge impact on me. Whereas Escape from New York, it was like one of those where I was like, you know, seeking out other films that John Carpenter had made, because I think at that time, I think I saw The Fog first and then I saw Halloween. And I wanted to see his other films, and then so eventually I got to Escape from New York. And I remember watching it, and I was like, yeah, that was good. And then that was kind of it. In fact, I don't even think I even watched it again for maybe even a couple of years. And then I like picked up the VHS at some point, and I found myself kind of, you know, watching it more and more and getting like a big appreciation for it. But even then, I still wouldn't consider it one of my favorite films for like the longest time. But I remember just over time, it just kind of like became more and more like a film I would just gravitate towards and listen to the soundtrack more and more. Until finally today, again, I do consider it one of my favorite films. As you know, so you know, I do kind of obsess over it. I do have obviously the one sheet right here framed behind me on my wall, and that is one of several. In fact, I'm going to go through my poster collection in just a second, as well as my Escape from New York area, which again I will cover in just a moment. But any chance I get to talk about my Escape from New York collection, I definitely want to take advantage of it. So I'm going to go through my posters. So first up, I do have the teaser one sheet poster, which you can see right here. This was definitely one, I think it's actually one of the last ones I got outside of some of the, you know, like special prints or something. But as far as like original theatrical posters go, I think this is actually the last one I got. And then, of course, moving on to the one sheets, obviously I have, you know, this one back here, but here's probably just a better picture of it. And the nice thing about this one is that it is actually rolled, which makes it very, very, I won't say rare, but very hard to come by, because movie posters in general were around that time were folded for theatrical releases, just because it was easy to fold posters up and include it with the film prints, and then they would just send them off to theaters. But the thing is, in the area in which a lot of these posters were printed, the immediate area anyway, a lot of times they were actually rolled. That's why it is, you can still find posters from late 70s and early 80s. You know, you can actually still find them rolled, but you do have to be careful because you have to make sure that they're original and not reprints. And luckily, this is in fact an original. But I also have a folded one, and in fact, this is the one I brought with me to the John Carpenter concert. And when I did meet John Carpenter, this is the one I have him signed. I don't have this one framed because I'm hoping maybe eventually I can get a couple more signatures on it. But even if not, even if I only have John Carpenter on it, that's still a very special one to have. And then I do have a 30 by 40. Now, these were always special because these were printed on a very thick paper stock, almost like a cardboard type of paper. And these were always limited run. These were posters that were printed for a lot of movies. I think it started in the 50s, if I remember correctly, definitely in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. You would have these small runs of this type of poster on this thicker stock. And I was lucky enough to get an Escape from New York one a while ago. And of course, I do have the original lobby card set. And that was kind of a funny one because, of course, I bought the set originally that had 7 cards, but it was missing 1, but I got an amazing deal on it because they're not pristine. They do have like pinholes in the corners, but you know, because they were actually used, you know, they're put in a movie theater back in the day. But that was fine. I actually got a great deal on them. But the one missing card, which is the one with Kurt Russell and Adrienne Barbeau in it, I had to buy that separately, and ironically, it cost me the same amount to buy the one card as it did to buy the other 7. But even as a whole, it still cost me like a heck of a lot less money to get all 8 in that way than if I bought all 8 together. In fact, probably if I had done that, especially at the time when I got it, probably would have cost me at least twice as much, if not 3 times as much. And I have the poster to the video re-release that happened in the mid-90s, I think it was. This was the first time we got some sort of special edition of Escape from New York on video, and I believe it's the first time it was ever presented letterboxed on video, preserving its original aspect ratio. And also the first time you got to see some of the original opening, which of course had been cut out. And then I have this German poster, which is kind of cool. Nice image of Snake there. And this thing's big. I forget the exact measurements of it, but it's definitely one of those big posters. Another big one is this French poster, which again, I think this is like 47 by 63, somewhere around there. Sorry about the mess around the picture. As you can see, this is actually taken in my old place. I think I was packing things up at the time. But yeah, this is definitely a cool image. This image is probably best known because I believe the UK poster actually used this image as well. And then next up, definitely the biggest poster I have in my entire poster collection of anything is this Italian poster for it, which is, they call it a 4-sheet because I think it's technically the equivalent of like 4 1-sheets or something, but it's actually 2 sheets that you actually have to line up in the middle in order to form the image. And I forget the exact measurements, but it's approximately 5 feet across and 6 feet tall. It is like, literally, this thing is massive. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do anything with it. Probably not. You probably have to sell it off at some point, but you know what? For right now, I'm so happy to have it because it is so unique. I do have a couple prints. I don't know if I actually have pictures of all of them or not, but for sure one of them, which is really cool, is this Mondo poster for Escape from New York. And what's really neat about this one is that even though I don't have a picture of it because it's kind of hard to photograph that way, but it actually aspects of it actually glow in the dark, believe it or not. Like some of the outlines and everything, especially everything that's, I think, sort of red in the poster is basically what kind of glows in the dark. So a cool thing. And then finally, I have this poster that was done for the Studio Canal re-release of a couple of John Carpenter films when they did all those 4K restorations a few years ago. I have the special artist print of the Escape from New York one, and I forget the exact measurements. Actually, it might be 30 by 40 now that I think about it. I could be wrong about that. It is a big poster, and of course it is horizontal like a lot of UK quad posters are. And needless to say, I had to add that one to the collection. And I do have other things as well. Yeah, I actually do have the original Escape from New York board game. Believe it or not, they did actually make one. Do have that of a couple soundtrack releases. Some of them are on the shelf here, which I'm going to cover in just a second. Other ones I have elsewhere. I know I have like one of my CD releases, I think is in a box somewhere. And the original LP soundtrack from back in the day, I do have framed on my wall. So hopefully you're seeing a picture of it right now. That's definitely one that is very, very cool to have. Very, very special. And for the rest of the stuff, let's go take a look at my Escape from New York shelf. So here's my sort of Escape from New York shelf. This is usually kind of somewhere in the background, but it's kind of blurry. I mean, I've showcased it before, but actually I have added a couple small things to it. Now, unfortunately, this light up here has actually burned out. I need to replace it, so I'm sort of holding a very small light just so you guys can see it. So it's a little makeshift at the moment. I'm going to have to clear this out at some point, so because I'm still trying to rearrange this room. Don't mind the Dark Knight poster. That's actually coming down. There's my 1-sheet, which you guys usually see. I think at some point I may eventually just move it here, which would probably make sense, assuming I do keep this here. But anyway, this is my Snake Plissken statue. It's a 1/3 from PCS. If I remember correctly, I think that's the name of the company. And it's very big. I usually prefer 1/4, but you know, you don't see Snake Plissken stuff very often. So obviously he's the centerpiece here. And then behind it, some of just kind of miscellaneous stuff. Here's the certificate of authenticity that did come with it. As you can see, I have number 64 out of 250. And then over here, this is one of the more recent re-releases of the soundtrack. It is autographed by Alan Howarth. And then over here, actually I have 2 soundtracks. And these are actually both mine from my childhood. It's the original cassette soundtrack, which is actually the first time I had it, and then the original CD soundtrack, which I'm glad I still have. I actually thought I might have sold that off at some point. I'm glad I didn't. And then at the top there, you can see the little Escape from New York eye patch. That was something I got actually off the John Carpenter website. And then this is on here. Now, this will be better protected. Some of you may remember when I got this. This is just on here temporarily. This is an actual 35 millimeter print of the trailer. Now, again, this will be better protected, but it's just here momentarily, just so you guys can see it. And then behind it are 2 video cassettes. Well, actually, technically 3. I'll get to the third one in a second. The VHS here is mine from when I was a kid. This is the one that I got, I want to say maybe in grammar school or maybe early high school, and I just would watch it over and over and over again. And then this is actually a beta copy that I got last summer. Some of you may remember, I actually got it at a convention. I was surprised when I saw it, so definitely had to get it. And then behind there is the VHS of that director's edition, and that I got at some event maybe 4 years ago, I think. And then behind it is a video disc from the early 80s. It was a format that was around for a little while, sort of a precursor to Laserdisc, but it sort of used like an analog, almost LP type of disc inside. This is something I've had for a couple years now. And then over here is actually the Laserdisc from the mid-90s, but this is actually my Laserdisc copy. This is the same one I've had since I was a kid. And then behind it, something I got a couple years ago, the PSP version, which was Sony's sort of portable version, game system from several years ago that also played movies on sort of this special format. And this was something I got, again, a few years ago. And last summer, I finally did get the novelization right there. They'll say $50 on the outer plastic, but actually I did get a much better deal with it on there. And then here is the Studio Canal 4K set. This is the Steelbook version. I do have the other Studio Canal version, the one that sort of the set that comes with all, the posters and all kinds of stuff. And then obviously I have the all kinds of other releases that I do want to display at some point. I'm pretty sure I still have I think I still have my DVD release. I do still have the Blu-ray release, the Scream Factory Blu-ray release, and then obviously the Scream Factory 4K release as well. And I think that's basically everything here on this shelf. Again, while this room kind of goes in flux, this shelf probably will remain here for the most part, I think, or I might move it to another room. That's to be decided, but for right now, I'm glad it's here. All my Escape from New York stuff, most of it anyway, not all of it, but most of it kind of, contained, again, with the statue in the center. So that's pretty much everything I have for Escape from New York. I might be 1 or 2 things I'm forgetting about, I'm sure. And as much as I didn't want this video to seem like, I'm just showing off the stuff that I have, it's just, I guess technically it sort of is, but really it's just, I never really get to talk about a lot of the stuff that I have for Escape from New York. I do express frequently, how much the film, just for whatever reason, really, it's just one of my favorite films. I absolutely love it to death. So any chance I can talk about it, definitely always want to, and what better way than on its anniversary. If you have any questions about anything that I've talked about, definitely let me know. And if you have any memories of Escape from New York, especially like the first time maybe you saw it, tell me all about it, because I would love to hear it. And barring anything out of the ordinary, definitely am going to be watching it later tonight. So I think that's enough of me gushing over Escape from New York. So as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.